World War II gets a monument on this date. Welcome back to On This Date. Today's date is May 29th, 2023. It is the 149th day of the year. There are 216 days left. It is the 22nd Monday in the 22nd week and the 71st day of spring. There are 23 days left until summer. Today is Memorial Day, and we've talked about that in length before. And because it's Memorial, this is going to be a really short video. I'm sure you guys got other things to do today besides listen to my voice. But today is also Mount Everest Day. Mount Everest Day is celebrated every year on May 29th. The date was chosen to honor the mountain climber Sir Edmund Hillary and his Sherpa Tenzing Norgay. I think that's his name. They climbed the mountain on this date in 1953, and they were actually the first ones to reach the summit. All right, let's see what else May 29th has given us. 1790, Rhode Island becomes the last of North America's original 13 colonies to ratify the Constitution and become one of the United States. 1886, the pharmacist John Pemberton places his first advertisement for Coca-Cola, which appeared in the Atlanta Journal. Yes, back in the day, pharmacists actually were the ones that dished out soda. Wasn't just a drink back then. They had hard drugs in it. 1932, World War I veterans begin to assemble in Washington, D.C. in the bonus army to request cash bonuses that had been promised to them. The thing was, they were promised to be paid out in 1945. Times were tough here in the United States, and they wanted their money ahead of time. 1973, Tom Bradley is elected the first black mayor of Los Angeles, California. He was the mayor forever. 1988, President Ronald Reagan begins the first visit to the Soviet Union when he arrives in Moscow for the superpower summit with the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. You know, I know Gorbachev had his problems, but the Soviet Union, and then became Russia, really looked like it was on the path to becoming more of a member of the world community, you know, when he was in charge. It's too bad. 2004, the National World War II Memorial is dedicated in Washington, D.C. It's a beautiful memorial, too, by the way. We were planning on going to Washington, D.C. right before the pandemic hit, so we got to reschedule that one. 2015, One World Observatory at the World Trade Center opens. Movies released on May 29th, 1992, Sister Act. This was a pretty good Whoopi Goldberg movie. I'm not into musicals, but this one was pretty good. It was a musical comedy thing where she was a singer that like the mob was trying to kill her. So she went and hid out in a nunnery or a church compound pretending she was a nun. Due to the movie's success, a sequel and Broadway musical were created. Bette Midler was originally considered for the role, but the role later went to Whoopi Goldberg. This back when Whoopi Goldberg was, she was pretty funny. She was a stand-up comedian, and she was a good actress for a few years there. Then she just, I don't know, she kind of lost interest in her for some reason. When she did stand-up comedy, though, she was pretty good. That's another one. Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr got annoying also, and her show was pretty good, the Roseanne show, but when she did stand-up comedy, Roseanne was excellent. Born on May 29th, 1917, John F. Kennedy, also known as JFK. He was the 35th president of the United States, serving in office from 1961 until his assassination in 1963. We all know this story. We've talked about it many times. There were a number of historical events during his administration: the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Bay of Pigs, and the African-American Civil Rights Movement. You know, it's weird to think that he was actually born in 1917. Then you remember, he was the president back in the 1960s. Just seems like he's, 35, 40, forever. It's weird. Anyway, moving on. Died on May 29th, 1997, Jeff Buckley. This was a tragic death. Jeff Buckley was a musician. He started off as a session musician. Basically, he'd play in the studio on people's albums because he was multi-talented. Piano, guitar, cello. And he was good. He was into rock, and that's what his main thing was. And he eventually went out on his own. And his 1994 album, Grace, was one of my favorite all-time albums. Just a great album. He's most known for doing Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. If you ever want to hear a great song, just type that into YouTube right now. Well, maybe after this video, give that a listen. It's really worth it. But he was going to record in a studio in Memphis, and him and a friend of his were driving around. They couldn't find the studio. This is back before everyone had an iPhone. So they came across a river, which was a tributary of the Mississippi River, where basically boats went down. It was just a nasty little creek river thing. And they went down to the river's edge. They were just going to look at the water. He decided to get in, and his friend, I guess, knew the area and said, "You can't swim in there. Get out of there." And Jeff Buckley went into the water fully clothed and some boats were coming and he dodged one of them and they think the second one hit him. They found his body 5 days later down the Mississippi River. He was the son of folk singer Tim Buckley, who died in 1975. Yeah, Tim Buckley was only 28. Jeff Buckley was only 30 years old when he drowned. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.